Pleasure to be here, and it's good to be able to share with you. What I'm going to be doing tonight is we're going to be discussing the physics and the subject of light, right? And then we're going to see what the myths have to say about this particular subject. So we're going to start with the physics side of that and look into the subject of light and what it is. Light is this thing in the Bible. They say God is light, and the stillness of light is what produces all the effects that we see in this dual world that we live in. So we're going to go into that. It comes from hard work. I don't have any special information given to me. I don't have visions or channel, or I don't have a guru. I don't, I don't have a crystal ball. No one gives me this stuff other than the good books that I read. So, and my own intuition.
Excellent.
Right? Intuition. That fella. So I want you to know that, because the stuff that I'm going to present, you can find. You'll find it. It's there. And I'm just going to point to it. So what we're going to look out for is the characters in the myths that always turn up and do the same job. And in the Jewish and Christian paradigm, the character turns up on the masculine side usually as El. And the other side, either his twin brother or his evil opponent, is usually has the word Mag associated with it. So we're going to be looking for these characters, El and Mag. Okay? Now, what I usually like to do to start off my presentations is show people a graph. Okay? Because in this graph is where all the information is hiding. It's always been hiding there, and it's the fractal that we can look at in our mesocosm that we live in. We can look at it and we can see information in there. And this is how it works. I'm going to follow this old map. Alright, there's the Earth divided into two spheres, east and west. And of course this is the northern hemisphere and this is the southern hemisphere. Alright? Now, see this sine wave here? As it goes up from the equator, this is the equator dividing the two hemispheres. So the sine wave starts over here and it reaches up 23.5 degrees north of the equator to the Tropic of Cancer. That's the Tropic of Cancer. Okay? And the sun spends 6 months in the northern hemisphere. From the northern hemisphere perspective, this is summer because the sun is close. Down here, when the sun is down to the Tropic of Capricorn, this is winter. So that's how we're going to take it from now on through this presentation, this science. Okay? This is pure science. And what this tells you, this is an interface between the sun and the earth. This is the relationship that they have with each other. That's the sine wave that describes the relationship between a primary and its planetary parts of the system. In this case, the sun is the ruler of the solar system in this science because it is the focal point of the solar system. It's the electric, vital part. And the planets therefore relate to, our Earth relates to the sun in this way. Okay? So it's like father and mother. And this is the relationship between the two bodies. And this is the science, and this is how it works, you see. As the sun then appears to make this track through the heavens called the ecliptic, this is the ecliptic, you see. And there's a glyph here, and it's Aries. And then here is Taurus and Gemini, Cancer, Leo and Virgo. So you see these are the constellations of the zodiac that the sun is in when it's the summertime. In the winter time for the northern hemisphere, the sun will be in Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. So I'm going to follow that, and I'm going to do a sine wave, as you saw the sine wave that wraps around the globe, okay? So what we'll do is we'll put the Earth there like that. That's the equator. It's Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and let's just reduce that sine wave. Sorry. Let's just start it from there and just reduce it to a small sine wave like that, because we can't wrap it around, of course. So here we have Cancer, and here we have Capricorn. Now what this means, what it means is when the sun arrives here at this point on June the 21st, you have a solstice. That's the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. Here, it's the shortest day of the year, right? In the southern hemisphere. So it hits the Tropic of Cancer. The sun will be in Cancer for 30 days or 30 degrees. And then the next sign that appears behind the sun is Leo for 30 days, 30 degrees. And so you've got Cancer, Leo and Virgo. And then before that you had the spring months. So you've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini. And that's the summer, right? That's the positive half of the yearly cycle, what they call the positive half of the yearly cycle. Because what we're dealing with here is the language of light, which is electromagnetism. You see, you've got an electric component to this and you've got a magnetic. Magnetism, Walter Russell says that magnetism is negative electricity. So you've only got one thing dividing itself. Positive electricity and negative electricity. Now, so that's the summer portion, and then as the sun continues for the next 6 months, you've got, there's the Tropic of Capricorn. On December the 21st, it hits the Tropic of Capricorn, and that's the shortest day of the year for the people in the northern hemisphere. But here is Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. Okay? Now I've just done that roughly because I'm going to wipe this off now, and I'm going to make this bigger because we're going to put the information in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to discover the language, the science of angles. This is what we're going to be talking about, because light comes to us at various angles. And that's the study that we're going to be talking about. And this is how they studied light. And they knew of its benefic angles, and malefic angles. And this happens to be the language of angels. Because the angels are the angles. You see, what they knew was this, that in a sphere, 90 degrees were bad angles. These were very dynamic, very powerful. Whereas 120 degrees, these were soft angles. Thomas H. Burgoyne calls this the angle of sorrow and the angle of joy. And this is the I got this picture from from The Light of Egypt by Thomas H. Burgoyne. I've been plugging this book a lot, so I'm going to be referring to this quite a bit tonight because it's the light of Egypt. Okay? So it's referring back to the original light of this doctrine or this science that was handed down to us by the ancients. And these are the angles that cause harm to us in the solar system when planets are found to be at these aspects toward each other. So you see here you've got the angular aspects of malefic rays, right? You've got 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 135 degrees and 180 degrees. They found those to be malefic. And these rays were beneficial. Notice 12 sixes, hexagon, and a triangle, 3. So you've got 3, 120 degrees. You've got a 6 in there, 60 degrees. And you've got a 12 in there, 30 degrees. These are good angles, right? This is the angles that they were concerned with this science of light. Because light is the producer of all things. Undivided light is what the cause is called. And as the light divides, it produces electricity and magnetism. And everywhere in this pattern, as you will see, electricity is followed by a positive pulse of electricity is followed by a negative. And for instance, these signs, Aries is known to be masculine, Taurus is feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. So there's a smaller pulse inside a pulse, inside a pulse, inside a pulse. You see? And so light is like this dipole unit, a photon, and it produces, like as a torus field, I'm going to show you some pictures of toruses and whatnot, and reproduces itself and creates all the forms that we see, which are only motion. For there is no substance to any of the things that we see. But please take note that here is the equinoctial point. Now we just passed that, right? It's March the 29th today. On the 21st, that's March the 21st. So we're about here now, okay? That's where we are in the pulse. And what you've got here is the two equinoxes where the light wave is balanced, and then here you have the wave amplitude where the light wave is out of balance, you see. Here it's exaggerated, as we shall see, and here it's depleted. So here we have photosynthesis in the summer, life, here we have death. This is considered to be masculine, this is considered to be feminine. Yin and yang. And without each other, nothing can exist that we see. So what I'm going to do now is put the Tropic of Cancer up here and the Tropic of Capricorn down here. And I'm going to fill this up with as much information as possibly I can and as quick as I can. It's philosophy. Philosophy means the love of wisdom. And wisdom is a vibration of light, just as truth is, just as love is, just as electricity is, and matter, and magnetism. And so the wisdom that I'm drawing from is many, many schools. As I said, I don't have a guru, so I don't subscribe to any particular school, and I'm not promoting any particular school. I'm showing how all of the mythologies and the sciences are harmonised by this science here. Okay, so let's put the equator back there, and What we'll do now is fill in all the other details. So here's the solstices, okay, so there's your cross, the Christian cross. And it comes from the cardinal points, you see. These are the very powerful points in the year. So we've got June 21st, September 21st, December 21st, and March 21st. And then we fill these in. And so we've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Now, what they did was they gave these 12 spaces, divided it between 4 elements, what they call 4 elements, the Platonic elements. And they are these elements here: fire, air, water, and earth. These are feminine, female, these are male, right? And these are the corresponding tetrahedra. You've got you've got your tetrahedron here, octahedron, icosahedron, and hexahedron. Okay, these are the Platonic solids, the sacred angles, the angels. Remember the good angels and the bad angels. See how that gets to have. See that 4 square there, and see this triangle here. These are the good angles. Well, Plutarch. These are the Platonic elements. Plutarch, in his Obsolence of the Oracles, said that this is being, movement, identity, differentiation, and rest. You see the rest? The hex has to do with that energy of rest. See, the motion comes from this part, and the motion is electromagnetism, you see, which emanates from this. And notice the dodecahedron is a pentagram, right? That's denoting, that's in the DNA, in the hydrogen bonds. Yeah. So it's part of us, it's Fibonacci ratio, the pentagram. This is all to do with the Fibonacci. So everything that comes from it is from that, and that has to do with the 5. That's the Vitruvian Man is here. Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man is in that pentagram. You see, that's what it's all about. The sign of man, the number of mankind. And this is how the Elohim, which I'll show you, the Elohim are the ones that produce all of these effects. You see? And so we have, as we go across, we've got light, you see? Gas, liquid and solid. Solidity, always solidity at the bottom, right? Firmness and solidity. Cohesion, motion, temperature. These are the elements that mankind are made of: nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. See how carbon relates to earth? So take note of these, right? Have a bit of a think about this, because that's what I'm going to base the rest of this on. So what we do is we give fire to Aries, fire to Leo, fire to Sagittarius. Earth to Taurus, earth to Virgo, earth to Capricorn. Water to Cancer, water to Scorpio, water to Pisces, air Gemini, air Libra, air Aquarius. Now, as we saw before, this is the spring. This is the summer. This is autumn or the fall, because the sun is falling. And here is the winter. In these quadrants. These are quadrants. Okay? The first part of all of the quadrants begins with a cardinal sign. Because the cardo in Italian is a hinge. It's a door where the door opens on a hinge, right? So it's the door opener. Bang. When the sun goes through the equinox, we're in spring. That's the cardinal point, the beginning. Cardinal means beginning, starting. Fixed means there's fixed sign, fixed, fixed, and fixed. Then the next is mutable, 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 and mutable. Okay? Now, so the cardinal signs they open the season. This one opens to spring. When spring is fixed, it's firmed up in Taurus. It's firmed up and fattened, and there's blossom and everything. It's all done. This is the beginning. This is the blossom here, always, in the spring. And we're coming up to that. That's what Easter's all about. Easter's always celebrated here, at this point here. Because it has to do with the exaltation of the sun. The sun exalts here because it's longer days. The sun falls here in astrology because it's shorter days. So summer blesses the sun, it exalts here. The blossom is a sign of that exaltation. And then the fixed sign, Taurus, is where the season is fixed. As Marcus Manilius, the astrologer to Caesar Augustus, says, that the mutable signs are always at the end of the season. Right about here. Thanks, man. Yeah, beautiful. Too good. Thanks, Sonia. This is much appreciated. Sonia's here tonight, and she's my niece, and she does all my charts. Right? If you like the charts in my other presentation. By the way, how many of you tonight are acquainted with my other products, so my videos and presentations? Yeah, good. Yeah, I figured. Okay, that's good. It's like about 80%. Fantastic. So you'll know what I'm doing here. I'm trying to go through it as quick as I can, but not to leave you behind. So you're lost. So thanks, Sonia. Yeah, and I'm glad I'm going to be... This is hot off the press. I'm glad Sonia did this because I'm going to show you how this is the sun, and there's the 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And I'm going to show you all the hand gestures and everything like that to prove that. Leonardo da Vinci knew what he was doing. Right? And that's Libra. There's Virgo, right next door to Libra. There's Libra. There's 2 feminine signs to the side of Jesus, because Venus is in Libra. So this is where this is happening. That is not happening at East Passover over here. It's happening at this Passover over here, because this is where the bread comes from. And that's all about bread, the Passover bread. And the bread happens here in Virgo. This is the bread and the wine season. Wine is here. Here is the bread. So I'll show you that. He knew what he was doing. So please focus on the energy. Marcus Manilius says that these are the most powerful signs in the zodiac and in astrology. They are the most powerful signs. Here is where power happens. They're powerhouses. They open up to the season. Then the season gets fixed. And then the season is mutable. It becomes, Marcus Manilius says that it parts ways, it just fragments, and then a new season comes along. Now, in the Spanish language, these seasons, they're called stations, estaciones. So these are stations of the sun. You see, the sun is always carried by 4 horses, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Here's the white one, here's the pale one, because there's green and pale for the green summer. Here's the red at sunset, and the black horse is over here at midnight. See, because this corresponds to 12 midday, this is 12 midnight, this is 6 a.m, this is 6 p.m. So it also, the year starts here and the day starts here in this system. Okay? And that's where sine wave starts, you see? Remember I brought the sine wave around before like that. Well, you can start the year here or you can start the year here, or at one of these points, because that would be cosine. See what this is expressing, the sine wave would be expressing the difference between the summer or the positive and the negative, right? Whereas if you start it here, if you start the year here at the solstice, what you're dividing now is the waxing portion of the sun and the waning portion of the sun. So, let me explain that without getting too far ahead of myself. As the moon waxes, and currently it's waxing, actually it's just up over here, I saw it before, and it's right in Gemini. When you look at the moon, when the moon is waxing, she's always pointing to the right side. The right side's the good side. I'll explain why later in the mythology part of this presentation. See, the right side's over here. Everything right in the Bible and everything east is good. East is good, west is bad, right is good and left is bad. And it's simple. It has to do with the two hemispheres of the brain. This is the sinister one, it's left. Therefore, when you go and operate out of here, the masculine, logical brain, this is intuition over here. This is the divine mind. This is the Garden of Eden, right? But when you stay here, polarised to the left male brain because you're using your right hand, or everything's right? And you're polarised over here, you're in sin. And you don't reach the higher mind. This is associated with the lower mind. This is associated with the higher mind, you see. So, and that's what I'm just explaining. When the moon is waxing and the horns are pointing to the right, she's waxing, that's a blessing. When she's waning, her horns are the horns go toward the left, and that's sinister. And by the way, east is also to the right. Okay, in the Bible, everything east is good. God planted a tree in the Garden of Eden in the east. The doors of the temple were faced east. East was always the blessed place. Well, why would that be? Because north, east, south, west. Because east is right. And this is where true living begins. When we balance the hemispheres, or at least work from the right mind, the right brain, you see. Now, so as the moon waxes, reaches full moon, and then she must wane and lose her influence, and from her light, waxing moon light is so beneficial. Farmers know when to plant their seeds. Anything, my father, he said, anything above the ground you plant it here at full moon. Seeds, you plant it here, under the ground. You cut your hair when the moon is waxing, you do not cut your hair when the moon is waning. It won't grow. It'll grow, it'll continue to grow if you cut it in the waxing part. So you see, I'm showing you this to show you this, that the sun also does the same thing. From shortest day to longest day, that would be the same as the moon. That's new moon and that's full moon. And there's quarter, right? There's quarter moon and there's quarter moon, just like the equinoxes and sunrise and sunset. So you've got midday and midnight. That's how it always works. That's what astrology is based on. The waxings and the wanings of the planets, mostly. That's what it's all about. And they knew when the planets were stronger, in which part of the orbs and which signs. See, some of them rejoiced in some signs, but they were detrimental in other signs. And I'm going to show you that really quickly and put as much information as I can in here about that. But the reason I showed you that with the moon is that the same thing is happening here with the sun cycle. For instance, a waxing sun is good, so these two quadrants are good, so we'll put a plus here. and a plus here, and a negative over here and a negative over here, okay? Because this is waning sun. Anything waning is no good. Now, let's take these two hemispheres. Well, here the sun is in its glory and its kingdom, in its brightness, because here is summer and here is winter. So obviously this is the good again, and so we give a plus and a plus for that, and a minus for this, because this is summer, this is the winter, this is waxing and this is waning. So what you see, you're getting the positive spring because of the exaltation of the sun. The sun now has exalted here. This is brilliant. In astrology, this is the sign of the exaltation of the sun. And this is why Easter is always celebrated here, because guess who gets resurrected here? Now, I'm going into the mythology bit, which I wasn't going to. I should leave that alone. But this is where the sun gets resurrected. We're celebrating that. We're celebrating the Passover next week. See, because the sun has now passed over from this. This is the Red Sea, because the leaves turn red here at autumn. They turn red. This is green, and this is red, as I've depicted over here. I'm doing exactly the same thing as over here. If you want to flick your eyes over here every now and then, this is green. This is the winter, the red winter, and these are the signs of the winter. These are the signs of the summer. Now, you might think I'm going into astrology here. Well, I'm going to deviate right now. We're going to just fill in all of this, and then we're just going to talk about light, as I promised. But this is because this is how light shows itself. This is how God, if you like, which is light, the Bible says it. No need to go past the scripture. Past the letter of the word in that sense, because the Bible says that, and what does it mean? Well, it means what it says. God is light. So I've put in all the elements. Okay, so you've got fire, and by the way, fire represents electricity. So remember the characters I said we're going to look out for in the mythologies, El and Mag. There's the South Korean flag. Red and blue is always electricity and magnetism, fire and water. So that's your fire and water here, okay? Drawn from all of this Platonic science. This is no one's intellectual property, by the way. It's not Plato's, it's not anybody's. This just is. This just explains. It's based on this, based purely on this, and all the 360 degrees of angles that we get from the sun during the year. Those degrees are measured day by day. Every day as the sun progresses 1 degree around that circle and goes around those angles, he's going around with his angels, the holy angels, because holy comes from the word light. It's all about light. Light is angelic. They are the angels. The angles. Remember the good angels and the bad angels? So here we have fire and water, and of course these are the symbols for fire, earth, air and water. And you'll find blue and red in a lot of flags, like the Union Jack. Right? The Union Jack is red, white and blue. The white is neutral. But the red is fire and the blue is magnetic. And it's the British flag is exactly the same as this. It's telling you the same thing that this is telling you, only in a different language. You see, what they've got, the Union Jack, is like that, right? Well, this is the equinoxes and this is the solstices. The sun is always crisscrossing and making that sign. And Jack is Jacob, which means the sun. Right? So the Union Jack is the uniting of the 12 tribes of Israel. And as I will show in mythology, these are the 12 tribes. So let's get back to that. I've got one more thing to put in here. What the scientists, what they knew from this science is that there were 7 planets and they had their rulerships in these signs. Here was the sun. So the sun here in Leo and the moon here in Cancer. There you go, okay? Then you had, next to them were always Mercury, and I'll put him like that because I think if I put an M there, so Mercury is always next to the sun. In fact, in any astrological chart, Mercury is never more than 28 degrees away from the sun, because physically you can never see it more than 28 degrees away from the sun. Just like Venus, I think it's 48 degrees. She's never higher than 48 degrees, and never full. Even though it's the brightest thing after the sun and the moon, Venus, which we put over here in Taurus and Libra, you notice the order: sun and moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, okay? And there's a reason for all that. But Venus is always, she's always a crest. And in fact, that's the crest on the Islamic flag. It's not the moon. The crescent crest. It's crescent. Yeah, you can never see Venus full. You see? So they're teaching you science, and it's all the same science. In fact, as I said, with this the Union Jack, St. Peter's Square is also the obelisk in St. Peter's Square is doing the same thing and monitoring those the solstices and the equinoxes. You'll see that right in the middle of St. Peter's Square. There's a film, a video on YouTube called Christianity Revealed. Check it out, it's 10 minutes and it shows all of this. Now interesting thing how they put these in here. Then there's Mars. Mars is over here and in Scorpio. So Mars is ruling right now in Aries. And then you've got Jupiter over here. Jupiter, and then we've got Saturn. Now, here's a little tip about Saturn. It's going to interest you. In Hebrew, the letter L, something like that. Letter L. The glyph for Saturn is this, right? Because as I'll show you later in the mythological part, L and Baal in the mythologies is this L, Saturn. Okay. So now, so what we've got, guys, is as you can see, we've got all the elements. What are they doing there? Is there any way of understanding what they're doing there and how that works and what all this means? You see, the seasons, as I said before, they start here and then they're fixed here and then they change here, you see. So cardinal, fixed, mutable has to do with birth, growth and death, generation, operation, dissolution. Here's another one. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. The creator, the preserver and the destroyer. In fact, you ever wondered why they've got their 4 arms? They each have 4 arms. Here's the creator. Here's the preserver and the destroyer. And that's the 3 phases in which everything is happening. In the universe, everything is born and then grows and then decays. And so there it is. And you see, so that's why in the Bible also God is always loving, or He's the God of war. Now I'm going to go into that in the next part about how we've just totally misread and misinterpreted the Bible. Because everything that happens in it is actually happening inside of us. The Holy Land is inside of us. I'm going to show you it's beautiful. But this is what this science is showing. This is the science of light. Paracelsus said this, and I'm reading from a brochure from Manly P. Hall, his Mystical and Medical Philosophy, about the subject of light. Now, he opens in this brochure and says that the findings of Paracelsus included the discovery of hydrogen and nitrogen. So we're talking someone who knows his stuff. He's a scientist. But Paracelsus was known to be an astrologer too, and he cured people with herbs. This is what they don't want you to do now. No curing. They're going to treat your disease, and it's going to cost you heaps. If you want to be cured freely, you have to find that, but what they want you to have is a treatment. But Paracelsus was, I think he also contributed to homeopathy and naturopathy and all of that, toxicology. He was right into, I think he might have even discovered zinc. Zinc is associated with his name. Anyway, he was an astrologer. And he also explained to the world the origin of the... he was right into this. He was a Neoplatonist. He was a Hermetist. Okay? And this is what he said. Paracelsus held that true knowledge is attained in two ways, or rather, that the pursuit of knowledge is advanced by a twofold method, the elements of which are completely independent. In our present terminology, we can say that these two parts of method are intuition and experience. To Paracelsus, these could never be divided from each other. The purpose of intuition is to reveal certain basic ideas which must then be tested and proven by experience. Experience in turn not only justifies intuition, but contributes certain additional knowledge by which the impulse to further growth is strengthened and developed. Paracelsus regarded the separation of intuition and experience to be a disaster. That's what they've done. Intuition's here, experience is here, and intellect is here. This is what interferes. This is the sinister side. Okay? And that's why the serpent, the serpent on top of there's always the two serpents intertwined around the caduceus, and one is here and one is here. And that's the serpent, the negative one, that says to Eve to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, because here is unity and here is duality. You see? Good and knowledge, good and evil. If you want to eat from the fruit of the tree of good and evil, it's living in the left brain. Paracelsus regarded as to be a disaster, so leading inevitably to greater error and further disaster. Intuition without experience allows the mind to fall into an abyss of speculation without adequate censorship by practical means. Experience without intuition could never be fruitful, because fruitfulness comes not merely from the doing of things, but from the overtones which stimulate creative thought. According to Paracelsus, intuition was possible because of the existence in nature of a mysterious substance or essence, a universal life force. He gave this many names, but for our purposes the simplest term will be appropriate. He compared it to light. Further reasoning that there are two kinds of light: a visible radiance, which he called brightness, and an invisible radiance, which he called darkness. Okay? A visible radiance and an invisible radiance. Alright? We're always going to go back to this, because here's where the duality is. Here's where all the information is encoded. All that you've got there gives you all the secrets about light that are coming up from basically Paracelsus and Walter Russell, just to name a few. I mean, these guys, Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts.org. I'll be talking about those guys too. A visible radiance, which he called an invisible radiance, which he called darkness, and a visible one, which he called brightness. There is no essential difference between light and darkness. There is a dark light which appears luminous to the soul but cannot be sensed by the body. There is a visible radiance which seems bright to the senses but may appear dark to the soul. We must recognise that Paracelsus considered light as pertaining to the nature of being, the total existence from which all separate existences arise. Light not only contains the energy needed to support visible creatures and the whole broad expanse of creation, but the invisible part of light supports the secret powers and functions of man, particularly intuition. Intuition, therefore, relates to the capacity of the individual to become attuned to the hidden side of life. By light, then, Paracelsus implies much more than the radiance that comes from the sun, a lantern, or a candle. To him, light is the perfect symbol, emblem, or figure of total well-being. Light is the cause of health. Invisible light, no less real, if unseen, is the cause of wisdom. You see? Invisible light is the cause of wisdom. These are the properties of light. Light does all things. As the light of the body gives strength and energy, sustaining growth and development, so the light of the soul bestows understanding. The light of the mind makes wisdom possible, and the light of the spirit confers truth. Therefore, truth, wisdom, understanding, and health are all manifestations or revelations of one virtue or power. And this is how we broke it up. Remember the 5 elements, okay? What health is to the body, morality is to the emotions. Virtue to the soul, wisdom to the mind, morality to the emotions, and reality to the spirit. You see what he's doing there? He's covering the whole four emanations of our composition. You see, remember, we are this. We are this. The 4 rivers are in us. You are solid, liquid, gas, and radiance. You've been produced by light. You are light bodies. Everything is light. And these are the magnetic polarities and the positive polarities. Radiance and gravity. Walter Russell explains that radiation is positive electricity and it voids matter. Whereas the gravitation part of the cycle contracts and produces matter, you see? And that's the waters above and the waters below from the Bible, the 4 rivers of the Garden of Eden. So you'll notice that he's talking about spirit, mind, emotion, and sense. So he says about light. Now this is what he knew about light. If he knew about nitrogen, hydrogen, and zinc, and all of this other stuff, he knew about light. And they called Paracelsus the Swiss Hermes because he was a contemporary of Da Vinci, by the way. Sort of like an unsung hero, probably because he really, really was an exponent of, astrology and things like that. And he also taught about the elementals, the salamanders and the nymphs and things like that. He was right into that. So what health is to the body, morality is to the emotion, wisdom to the mind, and reality to the spirit. You see, light is in all of these dimensions. The light of the physical sun warms and reveals the bodies of things. The light of the psychic sun nourishes and reveals the structure of the soul. The light of the spiritual or root sun sustains and nourishes the human spirit. The sun is 3 in 1. It's a spiritual, psychic, physical body. It's 3-part. And all the Neoplatonists knew this and taught this. This is where you get the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which I will go into. Paracelsus mentions that the Pythagorean definition describes deity as an infinite being whose body is composed of the substance of light and whose soul is composed of the substance of truth. Truth is therefore a kind of light, and when it shines, a kind of darkness is dissipated. Truth is to the darkness of ignorance what the physical sun is to the darkness of nature. There is also a spiritual sun, and a total energy. The total energy of this sun dissipates total illusion, that is, morality or materiality. The spiritual sun is forever dispelling the kind of darkness which we call death. The psychic sun is forever dissipating the kind of darkness which we call ignorance, and the physical sun is forever dissipating crystallization. You see how profound the subject of light is. Light is like water. Water can be solid, liquid or gas, and light has the same nature. Light is that's why Jesus in the Gospel says, I am the light of the world and no one comes to the Father except through me, you see. Because this is this light. It's talking about the divided light. Because as we will see later, Jesus always takes the character of El. In fact, in Matthew chapter 1:23, it says, the virgin shall give birth to a child and they shall call him Emmanuel. Emmanuel. And that's where the character of El turns up, and we'll do that in the second half. Walter Russell, A New Concept of the Universe. And there's just so much here I want to share with you about light and electricity. Because his physics were just impeccable. He was a genius, and he had his pineal gland opened when he was young, he recounts. And that gave him deep insight into the workings of nature and electricity. So he really, really understood electricity. And it's just beautiful what he has to say. His wife wrote the foreword to his book. Now, he was a contemporary of Edison and Einstein and all these guys. And he's well known. Man can reason, this is his wife in the introduction, man can reason with his senses, but he cannot know with them. Reasoning is sense thinking, not mind knowing. Thinking and knowing is two different things. He has also produced effects without knowing their cause. The senses have not revealed to man that this is a substanceless universe of motion only. Neither have they told him the principle of polarity, which divides the universal equilibrium into pairs of oppositely conditioned mates to create a sex-divided electric two-way universe. Now that's his wife in the foreword. Now, this is his periodic table, guys. And it's 9 octaves, you see. And he discovered that it all works on angles. Remember the language, the geometry of angles we talked about before? This is the language of angels, because these elements are also tabulated according to their vibration, you see. This is what the periodic table of the Western world does not do. So he's cracked the code, and carbon is the middle vibration of all of this whole system. It all revolves around carbon, basically. And these are all the little harmonics of these vibrations and the elements, and everything goes up the periodic table. And they all vibrate at different vibrations, you see. So it's all different rates of motion. All the 92 elements, he says, there's nothing, it's motion. It's pure motion. And this is what he has to say. Thus it is that man has ever been transformed by the renewing of his mind with new knowledge given to him since his early beginnings through the Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita in the early Brahmic days, through such ancient mystics as Lao Tzu, Confucius, Zoroaster, Buddha, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Epictetus, Euclid, Muhammad, Moses, Jesus, Isaiah, whose cosmic knowledge utterly transformed the practice of human relations of their day. Then dawned a new day of gathering of so-called empirical knowledge. Then dawned a new day of the gathering of so-called empirical knowledge, which is gained through the senses, by research and observation of effects of matter in motion, rather than through the consciousness of inspired mind in meditation, which is the way that mystics and geniuses acquire their knowledge. You see? This empirical stuff. You get taught what to believe and what to think. That happens at church, usually. Yeah? Or at institutions of learning, you see. So it highlights the necessity of one using the right mind and the intuition and meditation. This is where that happens. Rather than through consciousness. Right, okay. Since the days of Galileo, this undependable method of gaining knowledge through the senses has served to multiply man's reasoning powers by teaching him how to do marvellous things with electricity and the elements of matter, but not one great savant of science can tell the why or the cause of his familiar effects. If asked what electricity, light, magnetism, matter or energy is, he frankly answers, I do not know. If science actually does not know the why or what or cause of these essentials, it necessarily follows that it is admittedly without knowledge. It is merely informed, but information gathered through the senses is not knowledge. The senses sense only effects. Knowledge is confined to the cause of effects. Knowledge is confined to the cause of effects. The senses are limited to but a small range of perception of the effects which they sense, and even that small range is saturated with the deceptions and distortions created by the illusion of motion. You see how much importance he's placing to that third eye, that higher mind, and the right brain. It is impossible for the senses to penetrate any effect to ascertain its cause, for the cause of illusion is not within effect. For this reason, the entire mass of so-called empirical knowledge which science has gained by reasoning through the senses is invalid. Light is not waves which travel at 186,000 miles per second, which science says it is. Electricity is the only force which God makes use of to create this universe. That's it. And that's what these guys are saying at Thunderbolts. Now, I really recommend you check out these videos. You can see them on YouTube. Remembering the End of the World and Symbols of an Alien Sky. And these are David Talbot and Wallace Thornhill. Wallace Thornhill's an Australian scientist. And they're teaching plasma cosmology and electric universe. Okay? And in there they have I'm going to discuss how they have studied the myths and discovered that these mythologies, like Immanuel Velikovsky 40 and 50 years ago, actually describe scenarios on this planet. Because Immanuel Velikovsky discovered that the myths were talking about the instability of our solar system thousands of years ago. It's never been stable. It's been changing. In fact, Venus was known as a terrible comet. And Velikovsky showed how Venus is only a newcomer into the solar system. And Saturn was in a different position. What they teach is that Saturn was at the top of a coaxial system and the Earth was at the bottom, and we have Venus was here and Mars was here, and it was a coaxial system. And Saturn was the sun 15,000 years ago, was the central sun of the solar system. And then this new one that we have now turns up. All right? And these are scientists. These are not guys who are... this was a coact, and then Saturn was kicked off his place, and this harmonises with the mythologies about the Golden Ages, because Saturn ruled the Golden Age. When Jupiter takes over, see, when Jupiter takes over, that's his father, Kronos. And the mythologies say that Jupiter introduces the 4 seasons. So whatever happened with this configuration 15,000 years ago, and this all fell out and it was coaxial. You see, remember the bad angels and the good angels? Well, you can't get any of those angles, right, if you're in a coaxial relationship with your primary. If Saturn was the primary sun of the solar system, as they show in this video and in all of their works, well then you can never have a bad aspect with the primary. So it's the Golden Age, you see. Look, there's so much from this that I could read. That which science calls magnetism and believes to be a force which has the power of lifting tons of steel is God's still light, which balances and controls the equality of electric division, but electricity alone performs all the work of this universe. The magnetic light, which controls the universal balance, performs no work whatsoever. The positive electric condition compresses large volumes of light waves into small volumes by winding them up centripetally into spiral vortices by thrusting inward from without. That is what gravitation is. The negative electric condition expands small volumes, so one contracts it and one expands. And he shows that so well, and these come out of the book. Thanks, Sonia. A new concept of the universe. These are ripped straight out of the book, you see. And this is how, you see, this is the contracting and expanding, and this is how he shows how simply the universe works, just like that. Negative and positive. Heat, contracting, cold, expanding. Heat contracts, cold expands. Radiation, gravity. Electricity, magnetism. Positive, electricity. Yin, yang. It's duality, and the duality is born of the oneness. God is one. God is light, God is love, God is... Hebrews 12:4, I think, says Jehovah God is a blazing sun. That's what it says. Ecclesiastes 11:7 says, well, I'll read it from my very old and worn Jehovah's Witness Bible. When I was that's what I used to carry with me going door to door for 22 years, right? Let's see what Ecclesiastes... this is a little beauty. I love it. Because I'm promoting solar gazing and walking on dirt for taking extra electric intake into the organism. Solar gazing is very important. It's electric. It goes straight into the nervous system. Get a load of this. Ecclesiastes 11:7. The light is also sweet, and it is good for the eyes to see the sun. Yeah. It's in there. It really is in there. You know, Job 38:32, I think it is. Job, can you tell forth Mazzaroth? So it's going to get juicy in the next half. But I do really want to share some really good... I've highlighted some great points from here before we have a break, and then we'll get into the mythological part. Okay? Unfortunately, I've got so much material that I prepared here, but I had to start without going with my notes. Usually I'm guiding myself with notes, so I'm probably not keeping a pace with my schedule. Electricity vitalizes and devitalizes, charges and discharges, gravitates and radiates, inbreathes and outbreathes, lives and dies, appears and disappears, compresses and expands, heats and cools, grows and decays, integrates and disintegrates, and solidifies and vaporizes by its electric actions, reactions, which divide the one into countless pairs of separate ones under polar control. When man breathes in, he polarizes his body. He vitalizes it into wakeful action and an awareness of sensation. He charges his body with higher electrical potential. He manifests life. When man breathes out, he depolarizes his body. He devitalizes it into sleepy inaction and lessening awareness of sensation. He discharges his body by lowering his potential. He manifests death. Science has for years been searching for some underlying basic principle of motivation which is present in every effect of motion. Mathematicians have hoped to find it and reduce it to a basic formula. Physics have sought for it in the hope of thus discovering the life principle. Science has never found it, and never will find it so long as it is sought for in either matter or motion. That elusive secret is to be found only in the zero light of the universal equilibrium. And that's here, at the middle of the sine wave, or at these equinoxes, right? Because everything starts here with March. Right ascension starts on the 21st of March. The spring starts, the year starts, the electric pulse starts. In fact, every culture in history has started their year from here. The January the 1st, that's Roman. You know, we're under the Julio-Gregorian system, and it's a slave system, right? This is true time. This is nature. This is nature talking. As I said before, this is not anyone's intellectual property. This is. No one invented it. This is why they attack, the Sumerians and the Chaldeans and the Babylonians invented astrology, and they didn't invent it. You can't invent it. It's there. This is the cycle of it's all about electricity. It's all about L, as you will see. There's no deception in this. It's all science. Nothing. All those religions are rendered out there that are doing business are rendered absolutely redundant by this science. That's why it must be hidden. They can't let you know that Emmanuel Electricity, who hangs around with Mary Magdalene, is actually talking about this science. In fact, they are bodies of light. I am the light of the world. He that walks with me shall not see darkness, said Jesus, the Son. Because J-E-S, get this, J-E-S in Hebrew is yes, and it means the sun or the element of fire. So Jesus, Emmanuel, Christ, which also means light, who hangs out with Mary, M-A-R, meaning marine, maritime, water. Remember I said that the ancients considered electricity and magnetism as fire and water, like the Korean flag shows and all of those red and blue flags, right? Because they know the Freemasons, it's all over the place, man. It's all over the place. Red and blue. Electricity and magnetism, L. That's why they have their obelisks everywhere. And remember L, the phallic, because ob-L-isk, well, it's the phallic. That's why the L looks like an L. That's a male phallic, right? So it's masculine, and that's how it works. And this is all based on that science. When we go to the toilet door and we see that, we know it's a boy, and then we know that's a girl, right? Because Mars and Venus are over here, and they're over here. What are they doing over here? At the exaltation of the sun, and also at the fall of the sun. Remember, this is the exaltation of the sun. Opposite is the fall in astrology. This is the house of the sun, Leo. It's always there. The sun rules Leo, nowhere else. And that's midsummer, and that's 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock during the day. This is science. Of course the sun's going to be there. You can't invent that and say, oh, I'm going to put the sun, let me see. This is midsummer over here. It's also 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, the hottest part of the day. I'll invent this, shall I? I'll put the sun here. You can't do it. These planets are all in their places, and if you give me enough time, I'll tell you why. They're all in, Mars is iron. Venus is copper. Remember electricity and magnetism? Yeah? Copper and iron, or, copper and carbon. It's in here, copper and carbon. This is all copper and carbon, your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. One's masculine and one's feminine. It's always copper or carbon. That's all they are. It's all copper and carbon, electricity. Carbon crystals we are. Crystals, Christ. There's more to come. Few more minutes. I've got all the best quotes. Every wave is a compression expansion pump. Every wave is a compression expansion pump. The whole universe is a giant pump. The two-way piston of the universal pump constitutes the universal heartbeat. A one-way universe is as impossible as a one-way pump is impossible. Electricity is an effect of strain, tension and resistance caused by the energy of desire in the light of mind to divide and extend the balanced unity of the one still light of universal mind into pairs of many divided units of thinking mind. This is mind thinking. That's what it is. Electricity is mind thinking. That's what is saying here. When electric strains and tensions cease to oppose each other, electricity ceases to be. Electricity is dual action-reaction. When dual reactions cease to vibrate, electric effect is voided by the one universal condition of rest. Sound vibrations of a harp string are an electrical effect. Sound, an electrical effect. The electrical vibrations of sound are a division of undivided silence. Sound is just undivided silence. Or divided silence. When sound vibrations cease, silence has swallowed them up, voiding them. It's a bit like that. That's light. What you're listening to is light. Sound is light. It's just and that's what the Bible calls the Word. Because all of these orbs in the sky, they're all emanating a sound, not just light. He has his own light. These are reflectors. But light is sound. And the Indians said that sound is all Aum. And that sound comes from the throat and goes all the way to the lips. That goes from down all the way to the lips. That's the whole spectrum. Om. So the sound comes out of nothing, like light, the undivided light. That's the source. And when you tell people that's God, oh no, I want a bearded one. I want the patriarchal, hierarchical, interventionalist, supernatural, monotheistic, authoritative autocrat. God. Give me that one. You know, the one that Monty Python and stop grovelling. But that's what they want. And when you tell them, but hang on a minute, look, please just go to the Bible, right? There are 4 scriptures in the Bible, and after this we shall have a break, because I know Ian's going to want to be on time. And I will have a 15-minute break and get straight back into it if you don't mind. I've got so much stuff if you're really interested in getting real deep into this subject. But there are 4 scriptures in the Bible that define God. Shall we have a look at those? Psalm 84:11. For the Lord God is a sun. S-U-N. Psalms 83:11. When I was Jehovah's Witness, I was telling people about Psalms 83. Sonia, do you remember that one? Jehovah's name, right? Psalms 83. Psalms 83:18. Right next door in Psalms 84:11 says the Lord God is a sun. and a shield. Because the sun is always electric, the shield is the mag. You see the magnetic shield of the Earth? She has the Van Allen belt, or the magnetic torus field that protects her. Without that, atmosphere is gone, like Venus and Mars, you know. But she's protected. The Lord God is a sun and a shield. One scripture. The other three, we know the other three. 1 John 1:5. This then is the message which we have heard of him, and declare unto you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Right? John 4:8. He that does not love has not come to know God, because God is love. Notice love, life, light, Lord, El. Because remember, it comes from El has been remembered as when Saturn fell from this lofty position and was cast to the extremities of the solar system, missed the cold, cast right down to hell. This is hell. Inverno or inferno in Latin, winter, and the infernal regions mean the same thing, just change one letter. Infernal, invernal. Winter, hell, same thing. It's cold, it's not hot. So when the sun goes down to cold and dies and is crucified down here, there's Saturn waiting, Mr. Cold. He fell from his lofty position. That's all it is. When you hear in the Bible that there's wars in heaven and that this Lucifer fell and everything, it's talking about the solar system. It's an unstable solar system and it's changing. And all it is, as I will prove, is a 15 billion year record of this planet's. It's a registry of astronomical phenomena. That's all it is. And from that we get ethics, logic and physics. Ethics, logic and physics, which are the three branches of philosophy. And that's all this is. The love of wisdom. And wisdom is a vibration of light. Let's have a break.
Rolling and that's action.
God is the light of mind. God's thinking mind is all there is. Mind is universal. Mind of God and mind of man are one. This eternally creating universe, which is God's eternally renewing body, is the product of all of mind knowing expressed through mind thinking. It's pretty powerful. Mind thinking is electric. So mind is this thing happening here, this 12ness, this oneness of 12, the dodecahedron. And 7 are the seven planets. You see, in alchemy, Saturn is lead, Jupiter is tin, iron, copper, Mercury. Try and grab Mercury in your fingers. Quicksilver. Slippery. He's the fast one. Silver and gold. If you're looking for the philosopher's stone, you see the sun is turning lead into gold all the time, man. Right? This is the holy grail. Remember we said we're going to be looking for these two characters? El and Mag. Yeah? Well, let's remember electricity radiates. Ra. And let's put here Ra and radiation and gravity.
Can't see that text. Can you grab a black one?
Yeah.
El and Mag, Ra and gravity, Gra. Right? Remember, everything is light. So electricity is light, magnetism is light, radiation is light, gravity is light, sound, truth, wisdom, matter. It's all light. Everything is light. God is light. God geometrically ordered divinity. Remember, we also said generation, operation, dissolution, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the creator, the preserver, the destroyer, right? Birth, growth, decay. Here we have a two-ness, there's a oneness here, there's a two-ness, there's a four-ness, and there's also a six-ness. 2, 4, 6, feminine numbers. They are all even numbers. 2 is the number that Pythagoras spat on the ground when it was mentioned, because it destroyed unity. Cause is 1, effect is 2. Cause is 1, effect is 2. Cause is undivided light. As it divides and polarizes, it gives us positive and negative magnetism, and that's all there is. Electricity radiates, magnetism gravitates. Emmanuel, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, and his girlfriend will be Mary Magdalene. Yeah? Jesus and Mary. JES is the son. See, this is all solar knowledge. The Koreans knew it, they put it on their flag. What about the Japanese? Take note of this, the Japanese kanji for Nihon. Nihon, 2 words, Ni and Hon, the sun and book. This is the kanji. You've seen that before. Hon is this and this is Ni. This is the sun. And this is Hon or knowledge, book or knowledge, the tree of knowledge. My Japanese friends tell me that this used to be, that used to be, this used to be that. Sun knowledge. It's knowledge about light. It's on the Japanese flag. It's in the name of the Japanese country. When you go to Japan and you ask for some mizu, you ask for water. Water was the universal, mizu was the universal word for water. In fact, it comes from Mizes, the Syrian word for Moses. And how did Moses become mizu in Japan? Well, Japan is Hermetic. Who is Hermes in the East? Buddha. Mercury and Hermes and Thoth in the East is Buddha. And the Shinto religion in Japan. Check out Mysteries of the Bible. There's an article on the internet, The Lost Tribes of Japan. And it shows how the Shinto religion is pure Hebrew, all of it, the lot of it. And it shows all the symbolism. Okay, Mysteries of the Bible Mystery Series. Brilliant article, and you'll see how and why they are Hermetists. They even carry, in a procession, they carry the Ark of the Covenant, that little thing, yeah, the little shrines in Japan. This is all Hebrew stuff, guys. It was one system. It was all one system, and you'll find, this is an interesting word, is Ra-El. Do you think they knew anything about light? Isis, Ra and El, because the son will be born from the Virgin. The Virgin is magnetism. They come from each other. Yeah, you see? And Isis gives you the radiating electricity. And this is why all of these orbs, this is Michael. This is Gabrielle. There's a guy on the internet called Bill Donahue. I really want people to get familiar with that guy. Hiddenmeanings.com. If you want the best astrology, astrotheology, and to explain all of this and who the characters are in the mythologies, check out all his videos. Bill Donahue. That's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be introducing stuff. He mentions Gabriel in the Bible is always the messenger, isn't it? Gabriel goes to Mary, you're going to have a kid. Gabriel turns up and declares this and declares that. What does Gabby mean? Gabriel, the talker. He's the messenger of the gods. He's the one that's always close to the sun. You see, Mercury is always close to the sun. It's never more than 28 degrees away from the sun. You look at any astrological chart, that, for instance, is today's chart. All right? See the sun? Guess who's next to the sun? Well, right now Uranus is, because Uranus is in Aries, but usually there's Mercury. He's never more than 28 degrees, and Venus is never far from the sun either. They're always well aspected with the sun. They're always good angels. They're never bad angels. This guy's a bad angel, Saturn. You see these red lines? Notice, remember red and blue? Right? These red lines are bad aspects. Remember we discussed the good angels and the bad angels? You see, as the sun goes around and all these planets go around by degrees, the angles are changing, one to another, one respect to another. There's always change. And some angles are good, some are bad, depending where they are. You see? That's the thing with this solar system. It's doing that to us. A perfect system will not do that. You see? So there's got to be some change somehow in the solar system in the future for us to get out of this stuff. But the blue is good. Notice this equilateral triangle. See the earth signs? Capricorn, Virgo and Taurus. This is over our heads today. This is an earth trine. This is a grand trine. Remember we said these are good things? These 120 degrees is a good thing, right? That's what's over our heads today. Tomorrow, 30th of March, that turns into the Star of David. 2 equilateral triangles. See the earth one? Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. And then there's this watery one, Cancer, the moon in Cancer. Neptune over here in Pisces. And this fella here, Saturn, is in Libra. He's causing one of the apices of this triangle. That's a Star of David. You know how rare that is? That's turning up tomorrow in our skies. And there was one on March the 2nd. These are the angles. This is the language of angles, geometry, sacred geometry. I don't know. I'm hoping there's some astrologers out there that are going to say, this is what this means. I've got a hunch this was in prophecy, in the prophecies. Because all of this, the cycle of precession is 24 to 26,000 years long, and it's the backward motion of the sun through these signs. At the moment it's here. In Pisces, transitioning into Aquarius. Sun goes this way. Every 25,000 years. Daily, the sun goes from here, sunrise, 12 midday, 6, 12 midnight. Yearly, spring, summer, winter, autumn, winter. But backwards, we are here. Right? So, this is a big cycle, and it's coming to an end. It's quite possible that is the Star of David that we're to look out for, or things like that, because everything in the Bible is cryptic, and there are 7 layers of interpretation in there. There's not just 1 or 2, an esoteric and an exoteric. The exoteric church, all the churches that are operating out there commercially, they're operating from here. They keep people here. They don't let them know about this. They will not allow them to enter into the higher mind. And they do that by abuse. Physical abuse, emotional abuse and spiritual abuse. You're a sinner, you're a dog, you need something come along and save you because you need a redeemer and a vicarious salvation. You cannot do it yourself. God damn it, you go down to the priest and give me some money. Because he's going to save you. Alright? That's here. This is why people appear to be sleeping when you go down to the shopping mall and you look around. What is going on? How much aspartame or McDonald's are these people feeding themselves on? You know they put. Please know that the junk food outlets are using human body parts in their food. Please know this, guys. I know it sounds outrageous. Do your homework. They're getting it in there. They've got it in the immunisations. They've got fetal tissue matter and all sorts of blood, that they plasma and everything. They put it in the chemtrails. Know this, guys, because there's ways to protect yourself and keep yourself clean and charged. And walking on dirt, 45 minutes a day. Get out there, find some dirt. Don't walk on grass. Walk barefoot on dirt, and it will discharge get rid of all the negative free radicals and toxins that are in your body, because the earth will just take them all. That's how it works. And solar gazing. Make sure the sun and the UV index is really low. I believe it's got to be around about below 1 or something like that, or below 2. But there's videos on YouTube where you can see, and you start off with 10 seconds, and then add 10 seconds every day, and then grow and just keep looking at the sun. Watch the sun, because it will activate the pineal gland. It will activate, it's electric. It's,
get up at dawn and watch
yeah, I watch sunset, because I can't see sunrise. I've got a hill behind the house. So you see, these guys turn up everywhere. Everywhere in our mythology. You'll find that, see, as I said before, JES, Emmanuel, electricity, and Mary, Magdalene. And here we have Ra, radiation, and gravity. So we see this duality always. And it's either the good guy and the bad guy, who is usually a feminine. That's where matter. See, matter is mother. Look, this might be worth doing right now. The Esoteric Structure of the Alphabet by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Really, really worth a read. If you place the alphabet around a circle, I've done this before. In other videos, but and you start with A here, and the middle letter will invariably be M in all the major languages of the world. Okay? M is always in the middle. It's the mother, it's the matter, it's Mary, it's Magdalene, it's marine, it's maritime, it's all those water, feminine, this magnetic stuff, gravity. Here is levity, here is gravity. Okay? So this is grave. Grave. Interesting, the word grave. Gravity. What's a graveyard? Here is death, here is life, you see? Mary Magdalene is the first one. Who's the first person that rocks up when Jesus is resurrected to go to the tomb, to go to the grave? Yeah, Mary Magdalene's the first one to go to the grave to see Jesus arisen. It's all there. Now if we start with, and we go like this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Remember L, the phallic next to M, electricity and magnetism. You always put an E in front of L. Like the Spanish have el guapo, el muchacho. That's the masculine pronoun, el. In Italian we say il. And we also say, if a guy's good looking, we say bello. See, L is in there, man. And a girl is bella. See, that's Baal, because Baal is the sun, or Saturn. And Baal and Saturn, they're good looking, aren't they? Well, they think they are. You know, the sun. So bello. See where it is? It's hiding in everything. Absolutely everything. You just have to notice it. I'm going to point it out. M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Abba is father. Remember fire and water, red and blue. Abba is father. M is mother. See all this M and N? They are, the sign of Aquarius goes like this. That's the glyph in Egyptian. The Can someone spell that for me? Hieroglyph? Is that right? H-I-E, hieroglyph. What's this? Holy writing. What do we call the Bible? The holy writings, the holy scriptures. They're glyphs. They're writings. Holy is light. L-O-L is the same as E-L. It's all the same. O-L-U, elder, elite, the chapel, the evangel, the angel, Israel, Michael, Gabriel, Elohim, Elios. It's all that male L, that obelisk stuff that's going on, electricity, right? So, see this water? Remember we put Mary is maritime, marine. Here we've got nautical, navy. You see, because these are the crests of a wave. Water. This is all water. So we've got the Father, the Mother. Where's the Son? Can anyone see the Son there? It's pretty obvious, guys. The Father, the Mother, Christu. Christu. In every language it's there. It's the hidden one. Amun. In Jesus' name, Amun. In the name of Jesus Christ, Amen. Christu. In fact, the Egyptians put, Crestu. Now, I'll get back to that book, but as I said, in here we have all of the information that we need that explains light. Now, just another interesting thing. Walter Russell says, obviously here's hot and here's cold, right? Cold generates, so this is the cold part of the season. Cold generates, here's where generation happens, doesn't it, the blossom. So we come out of winter, the sun thaws out, so cold generates, generation contracts, here's contraction, contraction heats in summer, heat radiates, there's the radiation here, radiation expands, expansion cools. And that's how everything gets done. Heat and cold. You see those alchemical elements? It's all sun. All of those mythologies that we read about, whether it's Krishna, Bacchus, Dionysus, Jesus, it's all dealing with this science. In fact, John Fiske in Myths and Mythmakers, Old Tales and Superstitions, has this to say. The predominance of solar legends in most systems of mythology is not due to the lack of that titanic assurance with which we say the sun must rise, nor again in the fact that the phenomena of day and night are the most striking phenomena in nature. Eclipses and earthquakes and floods are phenomena of the most terrible and astonishing kind, and they have all generated myths, yet their contributions to folklore are scanty compared with those furnished by the strife between the day god and his enemies. That's what it is. The strife between the day god and his enemies. Because when he comes up, Perseus is over here. I'll get to that in a minute. Perseus is one of the signs of Aries. There's 3 signs in each. Perseus, Cassiopeia, and Cetus are all in Aries. Perseus, he's the one that holds Medusa's head in his hand. He slays Medusa. That's the starlit night. So it's all about the sun and his enemies. Little Red Riding Hood, that's the sun. Gets eaten by the wolf. The wolf of darkness is over here. Lupus is one of the signs of Libra. When the sun goes down every day here and it sets, Little Red Riding Hood gets devoured by the wolf, Lupus, which is one of the deacons of Libra. It goes on and on and on and on. It's all there. This is. It wasn't invented. It's not like they looked up in the stars and said, that looks like a scale. Yeah, we'll put a scale. It doesn't work that way. They don't look like it. There's only one sign up there that looks like anything that it's supposed to, and that's Scorpio. It's the only sign that looks like a scorpion. Leo doesn't look like. They do and they don't. That's not those. As I will explain, those constellations are just conveniently there to remind us of the symbolism that is behind it. Because as one must remember that this is also going on. And Aries always starts there at the head. There's Aries, the glyph for Aries. There's Taurus and Gemini, the spring. There it is there, the spring. And there's the summer here, these three signs. And then these are all the winter months. And you see how it works in the body. Aries is in the head, and your 2 feet are Pisces. And see the middle, Libra? That's right where Jesus is right now when he's with his 12 apostles. See, this is Jesus and his 12 apostles. Leonardo da Vinci here showed, see you got the 12 pillars here. These are the 12 stations, and this is the temple of God. Right? Here are the seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And there's so many little telltale signs to help you, and there's clues that the genius Leonardo da Vinci put in this picture. Aries. Now it's been cut off here. I don't know why, but it's a bit longer here. But Aries is always the head. You start your horoscopes there. You start everything with Aries. It's the right ascension, the lot. Everything starts here. The day, the year. This is the spring. This used to be called Primus. This month was called Primus. Primus, Secundus, Tertius, Quartus, Quintus, Sextus. And then guess what's over here? September, the 9th month. Because Aries is the first. It's always the first, and it's the head. Here's Aries, Taurus. See Gemini? That's Gemini. Remember our little man? Whoops. Have a look at the third guy. Aries, Taurus. Look at Gemini. What's he doing with his hands? Yeah, he's telling you, this is the sign of duality, guys. Pollux and Castor. See this guy here? He's got a knife in his hand, pointing backwards. He's the crabby crab of Cancer. Leo. He's the guy that's the only one that's leaning on the table. He's the lion of the tribe of Judah. He's actually he's the boss, Leo. All the others are staying away from the table. Then you've got here, obviously, a feminine, very, very feminine Virgo. She's also got her hands together because it's a mutable sign. The mutable signs have two-ness. Let's go to the other two-ness. Here we go, Sagittarius. See his 2 hands together here? And see the last sign, Pisces? He's got his 2 hands. He's going like this. Right? Look at this. Who's that? Libra. You see what this feminine apostle is doing? It's going like that. The scales of Libra. Because that's the scales of Libra, and it's ruled by Venus, and it's got that feminine thing about it because of Venus. And obviously all the effeminate ones are, see, there's male, female, male, female, male, female. That's how it works in the science, because we're talking about electricity and magnetism. That's all it is. It's all it is. Throughout the whole of the mythologies. Wherever you go in the mythological world, whether you go to the Sufis of the Muslims, the Gnostics of the Christians, the Hermetists, the Buddhists, wherever you go, guys, it's all about this, and I haven't even scratched the surface. You know, I regret that. I need hours and hours to get all this stuff out. There's so much stuff I can't go down. But if you really look at that, you'll see here the crab is pointing to the throat of Virgo to point to the fact that the Adam's apple is not there. That's a girl. There's so many signs, guys. It's saturated with it. This is the sun, and by the way, it's here. This is the Passover, and they're eating bread because the bread is Virgo. Virgo gives the bread. She's the season of the harvest, so that's why they're eating bread. Now, or you can even have it here at the Easter, because what do we have here? Hot cross buns. What's the cross on the bun for? Well, it's the crossing of the sun. That's why when the Jews here, they will go and celebrate Passover because the sun has passed over into here. And this is the exaltation of the sun. The sun is resurrected. You see? And by the way, this day is the beginning of their sacred calendar, Nisan. And this day is the beginning of their secular calendar. The Jews. Wow. I mean, I wonder whether they know something about light. Well, they're certainly celebrating the lights. It's all about the lights. Like the Bible says, you observe the full moon, the moons and the seasons. In Genesis chapter 1:14, it says, He has made the luminaries to shine by night as signs for men. Signs. All the luminaries and the stars for signs. Just continuing on from that. That was a bit of a tangent. The sun myths have been so prolific because the dramatic types to which they have given rise are of surpassing human interest. The dragon who swallows the sun is no doubt a fearful personage, but the hero who toils for others, who slays hydra-headed monsters and dries the tears of fair-headed damsels and achieves success in spite of incredible obstacles, is a being with whom we all can sympathise and of whom we never weary of hearing. Of course, we're not going to weary of hearing stories about the sun. Whether it be the Trojan War, the Ennead, the Metamorphoses, whatever literature you read, it's all about light. All of it. Everything deals with light. Fairy tales and their origin. These books are quite old, by the way, from the 1800s. John Thackeray Bunce, Fairy Tales and Their Origins. There's so many good points in here, but I'll just have to limit myself to the very, very, very few. The meaning of these stories and of the lessons they teach, lessons of history and religious belief and customs and morals and ways of thought and poetic fancies, and of well nigh all things heavenly and human, stretching back to the very spring and cradle of our race, older than the oldest writings, and yet so ever fresh and new that while great scholars ponder over them for their deep meaning, little children in the nursery or by the fireside in winter listen to them with delight for their wonder and their beauty. Else, if there were time and space, we might tell the story of Jason and show how it springs from the changes of day and night, and how the hero in his good ship Argo, our Mother Earth, searches for and bears away in triumph the golden fleece. Remember Jason in Argo. Argo is here in Cancer. He rides the boat with his 12 or with his 50 oarsmen, and they look for the golden fleece. It's in Aries, the Lamb. The Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. So it's all mythology. All those creatures are up there in the sky, all of them. The beams, its search bears away in triumph the golden fleece and the beams of the radiant sun. Or we might fly with Perseus on his weary, endless journey, the light pursuing and scattering the darkness, the glittering hero borne by the mystic sandals of Hermes, bearing the sword of the sunlight, piercing the twilight, or gloaming in the land of the mystic grey, slaying Medusa, the solemn starlit night, destroying the dark dragon, and setting free Andromeda, the dawn maiden, and doing many wonders more. Did you get all that? Let me explain. See, good old Perseus, he's over here in Aries. And he slays Medusa, the starlit night. See, because when the sun comes up in 6 a.m, give or take, we give it a number of 6 a.m. So, okay, when the sun comes, Perseus, he gets rid of the starlit night, Medusa. Where's Andromeda? Anyone got any idea where Andromeda is? She's in Pisces. You see? So Perseus, he slays the starlit night, and he comes up in the morning and all the stars flee, and he frees Andromeda, the dawn. Andromeda's always in the dawn. This represents the dawn. You see, that's where she lives. Here, Andromeda. Might pay to show you that everything that is above is below. There is the ecliptic of the sun going straight through the human body. There is Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo is in the heart, Virgo is the belly, Libra the scales are the kidneys, Scorpio the phallic, Sagittarius, Capricorn the bones. This is very important, Capricorn. It rules the knees and the bones. Aquarius rules the shins and the blood circulation. Pisces, the 2 feet, rules the nervous system. To the left are the northern stars, and to the south are the southern deacons. There's always 3 per sign. So in the north of Aries you have Cassiopeia and Perseus, and you have Cetus in the south. Okay? To the north of one of the deacons of Taurus is Auriga, the hero. To the south is Orion. Orion is always south. He's the only hero in the south. All the rest are northern. There are 7 heroes here, and there's 48 constellations in all. They're in your body. This is you. Leonardo da Vinci said the workings of the human body are an analogy for the workings of the universe. Protagoras said man is the measure of the universe. If you want to know anything about the universe, you study that. That's the model. It's all there. And all those stars line up. There are 4 red stars in the sky, and they all happen to be one here in Virgo, which is called Bootes. There it is. Bootes is red. Antares in Scorpio. Aldebaran in the bull. Taurus is in the head, of course. And Orion, Betelgeuse. That star's about to go supernova, right? These are the 4 red stars, you see. And they all correspond. See the generative area, the fire in the belly, the fire in the genitals, and the fire in the mind. These red stars. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. There's a lot there, guys. In the Taurus constellation, if you have a look at the work of Danny Wilton on the YouTube site connected to my website called Starscream, he talks about the Orion Nebula and all the stuff that's going on in here. And he's suggesting that the Orion Nebula, which is right in here, at the bottom part of where Orion's sword is the pineal gland. Okay? Because this is the centre of creation. Creation is happening here in the mind. This is the heavens. This is the Holy Land, guys. All of this is the Holy Land. Okay? And as the sun goes through the Holy Land, there's a gospel that is told. And that's the gospel of everything that happens to you. Everything. The whole lot of it. It's all about light and those angles of light. So, let's get back to this then, because we've got quite a bit of information here. Back to John Thackeray Bunce. And we were just reading about Jason's voyages and Perseus. Or in Hermes we might trace out the master thief of Teutonic and Scandinavian and Hindu legends, or in Heracles the type of the heroes who are god-like in their strength, yet who do the bidding of others and who suffer toil and wrong. and die glorious deaths, and leave great names for men to wonder at. Heroes such as Odysseus and Theseus and Phoebus and Achilles and Sigurd and Arthur, and all of whom represent in one form or another the mystery of nature. Because light does all of this. Remember Paracelsus? He said that there's a light that does the spirit, there's the light that does the earth is senses, that our body, there's light that pierces our mind, air is the mind, and then water is the emotions, and there's light that pierces the emotions. The sun and light takes care of all of that. Not only do the actual photons, not only does photosynthesis produce food for us to eat and grow us and cause us to live and see these beautiful cycles, but it also is, that light is bathing your wisdom, because wisdom is a vibration of light. So the more light you get, the more wise you become. You see? It's about knowing. Knowing is a quality of light. So is thinking. You see? And love. And sound. We saw how sound comes out of the nothing. That's how light does. That's what light does. And the conflict of light and darkness. And so if we look to their deeper meaning, the constant triumph of good over evil and of right over wrong. You see, what's going on above, all of this is the science of above. Please take note how I've wrapped see the head of the human being goes right around, and the feet, the 2 feet in Pisces, and see how the chakras here, these are all the chakras. Notice the red is over here and the violet is over here in Aries, right? And of course, if you look at the chakra system, the colour violet is here and red is down below. Red is down the bottom. It's infernal. It's the red region. You see, in the mythologies, light is supposed to conquer darkness. So when the God of the Old Testament says, go out there and kill the Canaanites, enter into the Holy Land and kill the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Jebusites and the Philistines and the Amalekites and the Edomites and how many Moabites, you know, all those enemies, kill them all. It's not literal. It's not literal. Those monsters, those Philistines, they're down here. You see, these bottom chakras have to do with sex, power, wealth, and all those things that we can get at a very basic level, at the basic level of existence, where light and life is at its least. That's the least degree of light, according to Plutarch, when he said that this was fire and this was movement, and this was rest.